Hello, everyone, and welcome, Sumaya. Um, I wanted to take a little time. So we are starting our next cycle of her mystery school on September 3rd, which is in a little less than a month. And one of one of the riches of the school are the mentors. So, there's the curriculum that I'm guiding and the calls with me and all the rest of the women. And then if you want to travel with a group or even have a one-on-one mentorship with a mentor, have a little more focus or a little bit more of a closer companionship. We have 3 mentors with the school. And this year, our third, Julia Sumaya, who's with us today, is joining. And so I wanted to have some time with her so that you can get a chance to know her, get a chance to understand what she's bringing in terms of the mentorship she'll be offering, and also how it tailors with the school and the content of the school and the journey that we go on for the 9 months. So welcome, Julia Sumaya, and welcome to all of you. I guess I want to start actually by just telling you how the two of us know each other. And because it explains part of the nature of Sumaya's mentorship. So back in, I think, our early 20s, Sumaya and I were together. We were both on a Sufi community together in Northern California. So we were very young, and we were in depth training in terms of it was an energy healing school coupled with Sufi school. So really living and breathing and diving into all of the tradition, the beauty, the teachings of Sufism. And so we know each other from there. And time went on, and we went different ways and had babies and all sorts of things. And when I created the school, as I've taught the school, this will now be the 8th year, one of the things that's very clear to me is that what the foundation I began with there with Sufism is woven all throughout the school in so many ways. Oh, sometimes articulate, but not always, often not. And has been a foundation in my life. And Julia Sumaya has gone on to become a Makadam in that lineage, a teacher. And so she holds not only what that tradition holds, but where her path has led her has been a lot about the deep feminine as held in the Sufi tradition, how women are held, and it feels, for me, it's been very, it's been something I've wanted to rejoin and to understand, because when we were together back in the day, that was kind of a little bit of what was lacking, I think. Both of us have grabbed it. It was beautiful. It was a very holy time. And then we went on to be mothers and lovers and all these other things and be women. And there wasn't a lot for us necessarily there, other than in the broader sense. But Sumaya has gone on to study with women Sufis, and to really so she's a treasure house of the feminine mysteries in that beautiful tradition, and the religion of love, you could call it, but I'll let her describe it to you. So that's where it started. So I've got some questions for you, Sumaya, about your mentorship and everything, but I thought we'd start just by you introducing and saying hi.
Thank you, Jumana. Yeah, what incredibly rich times that we had together, and just to be young and searching and to be held in that beautiful container of that community for this little bit, to learn how to be in the world but not of it. And I feel like it planted this just beautiful seed that was really an answer to a call inside of me as a teenager, feeling called to a mystical path and looking for this way to understand the world. And I grew up Catholic, and I loved the ritual of Catholicism. And then when I couldn't be an altar girl, I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't work. And yeah, and as a teenager, I loved Rumi, and so there was just this song that I heard, and when we got to live together, yeah, in the community in California, that was this huge piece of that, and um, I've just been so grateful to be able to stay in those teachings and in that light, and to study with Sidi, and then to study with Fawzia Al-Rawi. And she has just been a profound teacher for me in the lineage, just the ancient lineage that she holds, that her mother held and her grandmother held and the women around her held, and just the richness of how that comes through the heart and the body and the mind, and that, yeah, that's been a real honor to learn from her for about 15 years, and incorporating those practices and those teachings with my education in public health, and that bringing that part of myself in, which for a really long time it was very separate. Like Sufism was over here, and then public health was over here, and teaching was over here, and then they started to want to come together, and it was like two oceans just merging in this really profound way. It's like, no, it's time for both of these to come together and to teach about the body and the spirit in this way that just it's like the call inside of me, and how it comes through. Right. My cat calling at the door.
Oh, hi, Kitty. Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, and part of why I'll just disclose a little secret motive here is so I reached out to Sumaya in my travels. We've reconnected, and now that I'm on the East Coast, and I reached out to her because I personally wanted to understand what Sufi teachings would pair with the mystery school. So I've had a secret motivation because I haven't had the opportunity to study with Fawzia, and she's been someone that I've, even just a little bit that I've, little droplets from Sumaya over time, always leave me just so touched in this very particular way, and recognized, and yeah, there's a deep belonging there. So I'm excited about the mentorship and not experiencing it myself. Are you helping out your?
He's determined to be in here.
So the kitty needs to be with us. So welcome, Kitty. So I wanted to so now you've met Sumaya, everyone, and it's funny, I'm going back and forth between talking to you, Sumaya, and talking to all of you, so there we go. One of the things I wanted to, I have several questions that I want to ask you, and just talk over, because I think it's, I'd like to give all of you watching both a sense of the school, and also then a sense of this mentorship, to understand if it might be a companioning track that you would like to journey through, and just to know that if you want to join the school for the first time, you can join with this mentorship. And for those of you who have been in the school any year and want to continue, or want to go to the next year, you can mentor with Sumaya, companioning any of the years of the school. So it's available to anyone. One of the things that you and I had talked about, Sumaya, was, kind of how these two things come together, right? Where you see that, how you extend what is held in the Sufi tradition around women, around women. And I know one of the teachings that you were talking to me about related to that is the teaching that's held in her ministry school around virginity. And for those of you who haven't been through the school, we kind of late in the year, like late in around month 8, we consider the real meaning of what it is to be virgin, which is to be, for a woman to be one unto herself. And not linked to whether or not you've had sex, etc., but really the state of one unto yourself, and restoring virginity, returning again and again to maiden, to one unto yourself, and free in that way, and sovereign in that way. Also, you know, the teaching there too is that virginity or celibacy or is not a state of lack of sexuality or lack of potency, that it's actually a containment of your potency and a containment, and it's actually a very juicy time that we often misunderstand. So anyway, for me, actually, it's also, Sumaya, that is one of my, well, I go through the school every year as I'm teaching it, and every time I come to this teaching, it's one of my favorites, and it always just rings this bell of remembrance for me, that every time it's like I'm remembering it again for the first time. Actually, it always brings me home to something. So could you speak a little bit to how you see those relating?
So, and in the mentorship, we start with the uterus. So in the mentorship, we will have, at the beginning, it's an organ, and then bring in a quality, a Sufi quality, and work with that as like a mantra. And so it's almost like a step-by-step reclaiming of the body, of the energy of the body, of the energy of your spirit, all the places that our mind has to go out into the world, and our heart and our energy in so many ways. And it's this real calling back home, using your presence with your body, with your cycles and with your organs, and using the Sufi qualities, and reciting them like a mantra to really actively let go of what you don't need, and to be in that state of sovereignty with that divine light inside. Mm-hmm. And I think specifically around sexuality, there's just so many messages about opening and giving away, you know, and showing and being naked and displaying yourself in so many different ways. And this is just the ability to a teaching about like letting go of all of, stepping out of all those places, those voices that you hear in the world, and really being able to relax into that inherent virginity in your being, and the dignity and the strength of that part of you that is always facing divine love within. And like there's this teaching in Sufism, the word for heart is qalb, and it means to turn. And so it's like the heart, when we're living in the day, working in the world, our heart can sometimes turn to the outside and get distracted or busy. And then she turns back in, and she is facing that inner divine light. And she turns out and she turns in, like throughout our whole lives, you know, day and night. And so these practices really support you in being able to be okay with that nature of the heart in her turning, and making it easier and easier for her to remember to turn back in and to face that divinity within, and her virginity, her independence, her autonomy. And so yeah, I when I heard that teaching of yours, I just loved it. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
Well, a lot of it too around that is purity as separate from like a sexual morality or something, but a real purity of like the essential purity that we all actually hold that cannot be corrupted. I feel like that's too part of the repair that can happen through Sufi practices, because it's such a turning toward. Interestingly, as you're just speaking, one of the things we work with in the school a lot is this journey between homecoming sovereignty and communion the relationship, right? And that dance between the two. And a lot of what I was just picking up in what you were sharing is how there's the turning toward and the coming back one unto yourself has to do with, like, you're still relational, it's like as you're describing it, but it's a turning inward and a deep communion and relation with the light inside of you and the divinity, and that to drink from that is like the drinking from the pure water, no matter what else is happening. Yeah, okay, I could go on forever, but I just thank you for that, right? Because I think, one of the things that also I love about that teaching, and that to me, there's an overlap a little bit with Sufism, has to do with containment and veiling, and when we were in our Sufi community, I mean, that was definitely the first time I had ever veiled, because we veiled, and I learned a lot about the beauty of veiling, and that for those of you who've been in the school, that we work with the veil, and we work with veiling, and we work with containment, and just really actually like feeling what it is to be just gently veiled, to participate, to be again a little hidden, and how that actually protects the mystery of what we are, and protects the purity of what we are, and gives us shelter. So, I mean, to me, that's part of the virginity piece too, and when you were just kind of talking and gesturing about how this goes, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how this goes. We go out, this need to come back in and remember who we are and really feel who we are. I feel like a lot of what you're bringing in the mentorship is that the ancient wisdom way of the Sufi tradition through the women, and also, remembering, like putting the body back together, really doing some of this, in the school, I mentioned restoration of virginity, actually, and we do practices around it. But to me, almost your mentorship feels like one of the things it offers is this kind of like 9-month restoration of virginity, like a real mending and re-inhabiting and re-sanctifying of the body bit by bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all so busy, and to be able to create space, dedicate space to this month, this moon cycle, is for my womb, and being present with her and loving her and facing her and being present with what's scary and hard there and what's beautiful there, and being able to nourish her individually with your practices, and then when we come together in our call as well. And it's a beautiful, and then the next is the breasts, and just, again, like having this moon cycle to really be with your breasts and love them, and we'll do breast massage and understand about the breasts, and bring in another quality to really nourish them. And so, every month there's either an organ or one of our cycles in that remembering, in that healing, in that deep time of restoration.
I'm remembering, as you're talking, I remember brainstorming this with you a while ago, like months and months ago, being like, okay, what about this organ paired with this quality? And thank you for that. I had some other questions. What were some other questions? I mean, I think you spoke a little bit to already kind of the structure of the mentorship. So I'll just summarize that for you guys, and then you can fill in anything else that's there. I mean, so the way that personal mentorships work and is that every month you're going to receive a teaching from Sumaya or from Dionisi or Jamila with the other mentorships. For Sumaya's, it'll be a teaching, an audio teaching, and an audio practice, a guided practice. Then every month you come together as a group. for questions around that, and maybe a demonstration of the practice. And as Samaya's already said, what she'll be bringing forward is this kind of reweaving of the body, organ by organ. I remember womb, breast, ovaries. I feel like clitoris was one of them.
Menstruation, yeah.
Like so all these aspects of womanhood, real embodied womanhood, weaving those together with Sufi qualities, prayers and teachings. And then also she'll be bringing in, with the movement practices, right, some sensibilities derived from Tao medicine, Taoist cultivation, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I incorporate uterine breathing, and then there's a specific breast massage that I learned from the Taoist teacher that I've studied with, and then ovary breathing into your ovaries. So yeah, really. But then with that, I bring in the Sufi quality as well. So it's the breath and sometimes the movement, and then bringing in the Sufi quality to support that and enhance that, the healing for your body.
Could you say a little bit more about what a Sufi quality is? I know, but they might not know.
Yeah. So, and I want to take a moment and speak to Sufism, and it's like there's these Sufi qualities, you could compare them to many other traditions that have a concentrated prayer or mantra that you use to support an aspect of your being, of your mind, or something in the world. And so there are 99 divine qualities, like the mercy, the love, the grace, the strength, the majesty, and they're all part of the divine light. And so it's helpful. It's like a little bit of medicine, I guess, in that you can recite the one, but then when you're needing a little bit more patience, then you can recite sabor, which means the patience. And so you can really be with that. And it's so much more than a word or a sound code. It's like each quality is a universe within you. And each quality exists inside of your being. And sometimes that's a quality that you really show up with in the world. And sometimes that's a quality that you can really support and strengthen that by reciting it. So it's not like we're bringing something in, but all of these divine qualities reside in our spirit. And we are reciting them to support them, to strengthen them, to allow them to really shine in our lives, in our work, with our family. And then as more and more of those qualities are radiating in us, it's like then we're able to relax, and we feel safe in that radiant light in our being, and it's healing and supportive, and guides us home in this beautiful way.
Beautiful. Thank you. Do you feel like, I know not everybody knows what Sufism is, and I think maybe it might be nice to just kind of give a little blip about that, and then also just clarify whether or not people have to be Sufi or want to be Sufi in order to do this mentorship with you.
Mm-hmm. I think the most common understanding of Sufism is that it's the mystical heart of Islam. And but there are also other traditions that claim it as theirs as well, and I love that. So there are Christian Sufis and Muslim Sufis and Buddhist Sufis, and so it's really, as you said earlier, it's really a path of the heart and the path of love. and a path of discipline and containment that really allows the ecstasy of your being to be present for yourself. And so it's a very contained practices that support a very contained state of unity. That would be the goal with the divine inside. That would be the walking that you in your lifetime, that your being learns to be soft and tender in the hands of the divine. That you are like wool. Technically, this Suf comes from the word wool. That you are like wool in the hands of the divine, and that you're the animal of your being, that she learns how to be present in the world, but within she is in that veiled place and in a place of deep surrender to that divine light inside. And so really there is no dogma in Sufism. And so I'm using the Arabic qualities in the language of Arabic, but whatever tradition that you come with, it is adaptable if your life is focused on divine love. So whatever your religion or your path is, if your focus is being with divine love and compassion and grace, then this will line up and support you.
Yeah, I remember, understanding that Sufism is just the path of surrender, the path of love, the path of surrender, and that what it seems to hold kind of across the board is similar to the school, actually, where her mystery school is basically saying, look, woman is a sacred path. You nourish that, come to understand that, and then you get to bring that to whatever tradition you really, relate to. There are Christian, Buddhist, sex workers, celibates, everybody, all these kinds of women in the school. But there is something that's joining us, and it's almost this unspoken thing, and that to me is almost what makes it what a mystical path is, I guess you could say, in some ways. But there's also, the part of where I see the resonance between her mystery school and Sufism is in that there is a deep focus on cultivation and integrity and nobility of spirit, and a really felt sense of God, that it's not. I feel like one of the things that Sufism really holds, that I feel the school does too, is like, no, it really isn't a concept. And you really can have this direct, nourishing, fortifying, guiding, all these things. I know a lot of those are actually the qualities, but that is actually what can be your relationship to your creator, to the one who made and sustains you. So I see that it's not, similar to her mystery school, it feels like it's a path that is offering, but is not asking anything. There's no contract. There's no, you have to believe this. It's just come, drink, see what happens, come and sit at this table and be at this feast and eat what you will, take what nourishes you. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd add to that, as you said, that Sufism, it's this intimate relationship with the divine. It's so beautiful, it's so tender, and it's far beyond a word or concept. As you said, this is a tangible, living, every moment feeling connected to that divine light, feeling inspired, feeling guided, and then being aware where you're not inspired and not guided and you feel separated, and then remembering and having the tools to come back into that sweet, beautiful, tender, sacred relationship with the divine, and living your work, your family, your nature time in that authentic, tender, beautiful relationship.
Right.
It's a profound way to live.
Yeah, how nice. How wonderful. What would you, I know we just have a little bit more time. If there were maybe a couple or one even teachings that the Sufi path holds around woman that you really value, are there any of those, anything? Yeah.
Mm. You know, what comes to mind is Khadija, who was the wife of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. And she was this a leader in her community before she was married to him. So she was a business owner, and she was very successful. And then she met this young man, and because he was working for her, and people kept telling her about how noble he was and kind and hardworking, and so he started working for her, and then they fell in love and got married, and she was maybe 20 years his senior as well. And this beautiful, many decade long relationship that they had together, in just this beautiful relationship of the masculine and the feminine, and the way that her strength and her trusting in her divine relationship, and then her trusting in the love of this young man and falling in love with him, and then him starting to have these revelations, and him, that being so scary for him and she was the first person that he told. He like ran back to her the first time that happened, and he would like cloak me, and they had this beautiful tender moment of him sharing, and her supporting him and his vision. And it's just the beauty of the masculine and the feminine, and we're taught so many things that aren't real, and we're taught so much separation about in religion, and so much of the truth gets lost. And so when you ask that was the story that comes to mind, and that really looking at and being with the beauty of the masculine and the feminine, and the essence of that teaching, and how we can support and give and receive from one another in this way that we do within our own beings and our own humanity and divinity, and then the way that can expand into our life and into our world. So that's the story that comes to mind.
Yeah. As you're telling the story, I was like, oh, you know, like in her mystery school terms, it would be like she became the earth for him in that moment. You know, she became earth, and yet that was opened in her because of his nobility. You know, and there, you know, in the school we talk about like, okay, what opens the deep feminine? It's dignity, it's nobility, it's honor, it's reverence. You know, and there's. And then what does that open? Well, that opens a woman to be earth, to be, you know, to be this kind of pouring forth, and to know herself, you know, and in that too, I get this, you know, just this, again, in her mystery school language, but it's like how we are one unto ourselves. You know, that is, you know, we have our direct connection that never fails, you know, and that is the primary relationship. But this relationship with the world, or love, or lovers, or that opens things in us, like we are this kind of miraculous, okay, now I'm just like tangentializing, but it's like, right, woman is a miraculous generator of abundance and beauty if she's held and opened in accord with her true nature, right? That's my, yeah. I was thinking, well, I'm not going to go down because we've been talking for a while. So like, but yeah, but what about this one? And what about that one? guys can come to the mentorship if you want to learn all those things. But there are a lot of beautiful teachings. And for me, I think one of the biggest ones for me with women in Sufism is just that it's okay to be veiled. It's okay to partake in the hidden, and that is potency and is holiness. And it's interesting in the school, not in Sufi terms, but we work a lot with that, containment, veiling, all these things. And so many of us find such relief in finally just being able to be like, oh, right, right. I don't have to give it all. I don't have to constantly be seen. I don't have to prop it up. I don't, and even the relief of just not being kind of constantly taken from images of you, projections, little pieces of you, whatever. It's like, oh, and there's that we can find holiness there. And a lot of what the school holds is that what is sacred usually is held in the inner sanctum. The sacred doesn't get displayed everywhere. And what we're wanting to rediscover in the school is the unique sacred nature of each one of us as a woman, and the true sacred nature of woman. And to be able to come kind of into, right, we come into a sacred space in order to do that. And we come and we sit at the mystery of woman and say, okay, will you show me what you are? Right? I know what I know, but I'm ready to sit. I'm ready to sit at the foot of my own womanhood and really be shown what this actually is, and to do that in companionship. So you guys, the school is starting on September 3rd. The mentorship is happening. If you join just for the school, we come together every week as a group. So, we journey together, which is a big part of, I think, what enables a lot of what we do in the school is counterculture, really, or counter over culture, right? It's different than the way everything is moving. And so it's very fortifying. We come again and again together just to be together and to remember all this beauty. And then the mentorships, any of them, and Sumaya's also, obviously, then that it ends up being, so you're journeying through her mentorship with her kind of more personalized guidance as you're moving through the school in the wider and bigger group of us. I could just go on and on, but let me just give you one. Is there anything that you would like to close with, Sumaya? Anything you've got on your mind? Any last little thing?
To follow up on your veiling comment, when we first lived at the Sufi community, and we were just exploring what that would look like, veiling, and I started with a baseball hat backwards, and that's what I was comfortable with. I was like, I'm just gonna try this, and that was just a beautiful and that was perfect, right? And that's where I was at, and I did that for a while, and then there was some point that I was like, okay, let's see what that would feel like to cover. And and what, like you were talking about, just looking and feeling, sitting at the foot of your inner woman. And when you come to her and you make that space, and you've let go of the world as much as you can, and you have this carved out hour or time that you're giving to her, then she shows up for you. Her light and her gifts, which are you're giving her the space to show up for you, and to give to you, to heal you, to nourish you, to inspire you in all the ways that you're asking for. And so that's part of what I'm really excited to share with everyone. So thank you, Jumana.
Yeah, I have to close real quick with a funny thing, because when you were just saying that, you guys, when we first got to keep in mind, I was like 21, maybe you were too.
Yeah.
So what's interesting, and kind of I think part of why Sumaya and I understand each other so well is like, we had at the Sufi community, we'd have the mosque and we would pray, we would do all these things. And then there was this culvert out back, right? It was really hot. It was in North. And so we would all get naked and just So we were living in this really interesting thing where on one level, and we talk about it in the school actually as this kind of how holy it is to be sky clad, meaning like how necessary it is for women to just be able to be like naked in the culvert and like sky clad and untamed, and then also how completely necessary it is to be fully veiled and to be sheltered and to have that holiness, and how I feel like in general, I know I have, and I imagine, we navigate a potential tension between those two things, but they don't have to oppose each other at all, actually. And I think what we both discovered is that actually that sky clad, that untamed kind of the sensuality, everything actually gets more and more refined and wonderful and true when it's got containment, when there is a holiness around it. And so I I just, that always cracks me up, because when I look back on it now, I'm like, oh my God, I can't even imagine. You had all these like kind of hippie kids coming to join this community. It was like right at the beginning of it, and we were so open and so what we were, but to watch the progression of that over time and how we've matured through that and learned, it for me, it hasn't gone away. It's not like it's just been more learning how to hold that part of myself that needs to be that free, how to hold that so that it's actually a gift and not an overexposure, right?
Yeah, I feel that continues to cultivate within my own being, that the more that I'm able to let go, I don't know, to turn inward, to be very present in the world, but allowing like the sanctity of my being to be veiled when I'm at the grocery store or when I'm online, like in all of those places, the deeper I experience that, like the more just vast my spirit is. And the beautiful, wild, untamed feminine, she feels so safe just to be herself and to allow that in all the beautiful ways with orgasm and sexuality and vitality, to allow those things to really rise up because she feels so deeply safe. It's a profound experience. Yeah. And I think maybe it just doesn't end because it just keeps evolving. So
I don't think it does either. I think it goes and goes. Well, thank you very much for spending this time with me, Sumaya, and thank to you all for hanging out with us a little bit. I hope you received some gems, even just from our time together here. The school starts again September 3rd, 2024 for a 9-month cycle. Sumaya and Dionysia and Jamila are our mentors. You'll be hearing from them. I have interviews set up with them too. And you are welcome. We are so ready for this next cycle. And it feels like an important one in the context of the world right now, and what I feel like our hearts and our spirits are really needing. So we're here for you. If you have any questions, you can reach us at support@hermysteryschool.com.
And you can reach out and do a discovery call with me if you have any questions. I love this. Like 20 minutes, ask your questions. We could just vibe, feel each other. And I love doing that as well. So
I forgot about that. Yeah. So if you're interested maybe in mentoring with Sumaya, but you want to get a little bit more of a feeling of her and just, that's on our website. So hermysteryschool.com. On the website, you can find Sumaya, and then you can book a discovery session there.
Perfect.
All right, you all. Love you very much. Yeah. I'll talk to you later.